The Galactic Senate chamber looked like chaos had been given physical form. Over 300 species filled the massive curved hall, and almost all of them were shouting. Councillor Vretch stood at the central podium, his forearms crossed over his chitinous chest. His mandibles clicked together in what his species considered a smile. The insectoid creature was clearly enjoying himself. "The Pili have 3 standard cycles to accept our terms," Vretch announced, his voice booming through the translation system. "If they refuse, we will block all trade routes to their colony worlds." It is simply business. In the upper galleries, the Pili delegation huddled together. They were small furry creatures with large eyes that now glistened with fear. Their 6 colony worlds depended entirely on food shipments from the Kralix trade network. Without those shipments, millions would starve within months. High Arbiter Quelm, a bird-like creature with brilliant blue feathers, fluttered his wings nervously. As the station administrator, he was supposed to maintain order. But what could he do? The Kralix Confederation controlled half the trade in this sector. They had a massive military fleet. When they made demands, people listened or suffered. "This is outrageous," shouted a delegate from the Theta Collective. "You cannot threaten an entire species over a trade dispute." Vretch's mandibles clicked louder. "Can I not? Who will stop me, you?" He gestured around the chamber. "Any of you?" Silence fell. Everyone knew the answer. No one would stop him. No one could. That was when Ambassador Park Mina stood up. The human delegation sat in a section that most species had barely noticed. Humans were new to the galactic community. Only 3 months since first contact. They were quiet during most sessions, watching and learning. Many species had dismissed them as just another minor race from some backwater planet. Park Mina was a small woman by human standards, wearing a simple dark suit. Her black hair was pulled back neatly, and she had a warm smile on her face. Next to her, Captain Han Jiwoo rose as well. He was taller, with broad shoulders and careful eyes that seemed to notice everything. "High Arbiter Quelm," Park Mina said, her voice calm and pleasant. "May I address the council?" Quelm blinked in surprise. Yes, of course, Ambassador." Park Mina walked to the podium with easy confidence. She bowed slightly to Vretch, a gesture of respect. "Councillor Vretch, I have been learning much about your people's culture. The Kralix are known for their shrewd business practices and strong sense of honor." Vretch tilted his head, suspicious but curious. "We are. Then perhaps you would honor us with your presence at a cultural exchange dinner this evening?" Park Mina's smile never wavered. "We humans are new here. We would like to better understand the great powers of the galaxy, and perhaps you would like to understand us as well." The chamber erupted in confused murmuring. "A dinner? The Pili were facing starvation and the humans wanted to have dinner?" Vretch's mandibles twitched. "You wish to negotiate?" "I wish to build friendship," Park Mina said simply. "Understanding comes before all else, does it not? We have much to learn from you, and perhaps we have something to share in return." Captain Han Jiwoo stepped forward, his expression neutral but professional. "We have prepared a selection of Earth cuisine and cultural materials. It would be our honor to host you and your delegation aboard our ship this evening." Vretch studied them for a long moment. The humans showed no fear, no anger, just calm hospitality. It was unusual. Most species either cowered before the Kralix or postured with empty threats. These humans did neither. "Very well," Vretch said finally. "I accept your invitation. This should be interesting." As the session ended, High Arbiter Quelm approached the human delegation. "Ambassador Park, I must ask, what are you hoping to accomplish?" "The Kralix do not respond to kindness. They respect only power." Park Mina's smile remained gentle. "Then perhaps we should show them who we are. Understanding is a kind of power, High Arbiter." That evening, Vretch and 3 of his senior staff arrived at the human diplomatic vessel. The ship was called the Extended Hand, which Vretch found almost amusing. Did these newcomers really think friendliness would change anything? But when the airlock opened, Vretch paused. The corridor beyond was spotless and well lit. The walls were decorated with images of Earth, blue oceans, green forests, and strange structures the humans called cities. Everything spoke of wealth and advanced technology hidden beneath simple presentation. Park Mina greeted them personally, bowing again. "Welcome, honored guests. Please come. We have prepared a meal we hope you will enjoy." The dining room was elegant but not ostentatious. A long table was set with careful attention to Kralix dietary requirements. The humans had done their research. Captain Han Jiwoo stood by the door, his posture relaxed but somehow ready like a coiled spring. As they ate, Park Mina made pleasant conversation. She asked about Kralix culture, their history, their achievements. She listened with genuine interest when Vretch spoke of his people's rise to power through strategic trade and occasional military conquest. Fascinating, Park Mina said. Humans have a similar history in many ways. We also built our civilization through competition and conflict. Oh? Vretch took another bite of the surprisingly good food. You have known war? We have known little else, Park Mina said, her tone still friendly but somehow changed. For most of our history, humans fought humans. We became very, very good at it. Captain Han Jiwoo poured more of the human beverage they called wine. We had thousands of nations on Earth once, all competing for resources, territory, and influence. The conflicts shaped everything we became. Surely you exaggerate, one of Vretch's aides said. Thousands of separate powers on one world? How did you survive? Park Mina smiled. We almost didn't several times. But each time we pulled back from the brink, we learned something new about ourselves. She paused, taking a sip of water. Would you like to hear about it? We have prepared some cultural materials. Before Vretch could answer, the room's display screens activated. Images of Earth appeared, beautiful landscapes, but then something else. Ancient human warriors in armor clashing with swords. Massive armies facing each other across muddy fields. Cities in flames. This is from a period we call the medieval era, Park Mina explained, her voice taking on the tone of a teacher. Humans fought with simple weapons then. Swords, spears, arrows. Battles could last for days. Entire civilizations rose and fell based on who could organize violence most effectively. The images shifted. More recent conflicts. Trenches filled with soldiers. Massive explosions. Cities reduced to rubble. The 20th century was particularly educational, Captain Han Jiwoo added. We developed industrial-scale warfare. In one conflict, over 60 million humans died. In another, we created weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. Vretch's mandibles had stopped clicking. He stared at the images, at the sheer scale of destruction. These are real, not fictional? All real, Park Mina said, her smile never fading. All part of our history. We bring this up not to frighten you, counselor, but to help you understand where we come from. Humans learned many things from our violent past. We learned logistics, how to feed and supply millions of soldiers across vast distances. We learned technology. Necessity drove incredible innovation. We learned strategy, how to break an enemy's will without destroying them completely. She leaned forward slightly. But most importantly, we learned when to stop fighting. We learned that cooperation brings more than conquest. That friendship is more valuable than fear. The screens went dark. The room seemed very quiet. That is why we are here, Park Mina continued. We came to the stars hoping to find friends, not enemies. We have seen enough war. We understand its costs better than most. Vretch was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice had lost some of its earlier confidence. Why show me this? Because we want you to understand us, Park Mina said simply. We are genuinely kind people, Counselor Vretch. We truly do want friendship with all species, including the Kralix. But we also want you to know that kindness is our choice, not our weakness. We choose cooperation because we know the alternative. We know it very, very well. Captain Han Jiwoo refilled Vretch's glass. We hope this is the beginning of a strong relationship between our peoples. And we hope that in getting to know us you might reconsider the matter with the Pili. Not because we threaten you, but because friends help each other make wise decisions. The dinner continued, but the atmosphere had changed. Vretch and his aides were quieter now, thoughtful. When they finally left, Vretch paused at the airlock. You are an unusual people, he said to Park Mina. She smiled warmly. We have been told this before. Sleep well, counselor. We will speak again soon. As the Kralix delegation departed, Captain Han Jiwoo stood beside Park Mina, watching their shuttle pull away. Do you think it worked? He asked quietly. Park Mina's smile remained. We did not threaten him. We did not demand anything. We simply helped him understand who we are. And if he doesn't change his mind about the Pili, then we help him understand more. We have plenty of history to share. She turned from the window. But I think he's already beginning to realize the important part. What's that? That humans are genuinely nice. And that makes what we're capable of so much more frightening. 2 days after the dinner, A package arrived at the Krelix delegation quarters. Counselor Vretch stared at the container with suspicion. It was elegantly wrapped in blue paper decorated with stars, the colors of Earth's flag. His aide, a younger Krelix named Thex, chittered nervously. "Should we scan it for weapons?" "Do it," Vretch ordered. The scan came back clean. Inside were several data crystals, a handwritten note in perfect Krelix script, and a small box of what appeared to be Earth sweets. Chocolate. The note explained. The note was from Ambassador Park Mina. "Dear Counselor Vretch, thank you for joining us for dinner. As a token of our friendship, we wish to share more of Earth's culture and history with you. We have also included some chocolate. It is a favorite treat among humans. We hope you enjoy learning about our world. With warmest regards, Ambassador Park Mina." Thex picked up one of the data crystals. "What do you think is on these?" "Only one way to find out," Vretch said. That afternoon, Dr. Lee Hyun arrived at the Krelix quarters with a smile and a shoulder bag full of additional materials. He was a thin man with glasses and gentle eyes, the kind of being who looked like he spent his life in libraries. He bowed politely when Vretch opened the door. "Counselor Vretch, I hope I am not disturbing you. I am Dr. Lee Hyun, human xenoanthropologist. Ambassador Park mentioned you might be interested in learning more about Earth's history, so I thought I could answer any questions you might have." Vretch's mandibles clicked slowly. He had been examining the data crystals, and what he found was disturbing. "Come in, Dr. Lee. I do have questions." Lee Hyun settled into a chair with easy comfort, pulling out a portable display unit. "Wonderful. I love discussing human history. It is my passion. What would you like to know?" "These data files," Vretch gestured to the crystals, "they contain detailed records of human conflicts. Thousands of years of war. Why would you give us this information?" Lee Hyun smiled like a teacher pleased with a good student. "Because understanding context is important for friendship, Counselor. You cannot truly know a people without knowing where they come from. Human history is violent, yes, but it shaped everything we are today." He activated his display and images filled the air between them. Ancient battles, medieval sieges, modern warfare, all presented with calm academic precision. "Let me walk you through some key developments," Lee Hyun said pleasantly. "Early human warfare was quite simple. We hit each other with rocks and sticks. But we learned quickly. By the Bronze Age, we had developed sophisticated tactics, phalanx formations, cavalry charges, siege equipment." The images shifted, showing armies in formation. Lee Hyun's voice remained friendly and educational, like he was discussing interesting pottery techniques rather than mass violence. The Roman Empire was particularly innovative. They conquered most of their known world through superior organization and ruthless efficiency. They had a practice called decimation. If a unit failed in battle, they would line up the soldiers and kill every 10th man. This taught the survivors about the cost of failure. Vretch felt cold despite his chitinous exterior. "That seems extreme." "Oh, it was very extreme," Lee Hyun agreed cheerfully. "But effective. The Romans understood psychological warfare. Make the punishment for failure worse than death in battle, and soldiers fight harder. Humans learned this lesson well." More images. Mounted warriors sweeping across grasslands. The Mongol Empire conquered more territory than any other in Earth's history. They were masters of terror. When a city resisted, the Mongols would destroy it completely and stack the skulls of the dead as a warning to others. Most cities surrendered without fighting after that. Very efficient. Lee Hyun spoke like he was describing a clever solution to a logistics problem. His tone remained pleasant, academic, almost cheerful. That made it worse somehow. Thex, who had been listening from across the room, spoke up. "How did your species survive if you were so violent to each other?" "Excellent question." Lee Hyun beamed. "Adaptation and innovation. Every major war pushed human technology forward. Need to kill more enemies faster, develop better weapons, need to move armies across oceans, build better ships, need to break enemy fortifications, invent explosives." The images shifted to more recent history. Trenches filled with mud and bodies, cities in flames, mushroom clouds rising over devastated landscapes. "The 20th century was our most educational period," Lee Hyun continued. "We developed industrial warfare. Assembly lines that produced tanks like we once produced pottery. Chemical weapons that could kill thousands in minutes. Aerial bombardment that could level cities. And finally, nuclear weapons, he paused, adjusting his glasses. The atomic bomb was quite remarkable from an engineering standpoint. A single weapon that could destroy an entire city and leave the land poisoned for generations. We built thousands of them. We pointed them at each other. We came very close to using them several times. But you didn't destroy yourselves, Vretch said quietly. No, Li Hyun agreed. We didn't, because humans learned something important. We learned that some weapons are too terrible to use. We learned that cooperation brings more benefits than destruction. We learned to redirect our competitive nature toward peaceful goals. He leaned forward, his expression still friendly, but somehow more intense. That is the real lesson of human history, counselor. Not that we are violent. Many species are violent. The lesson is that we became very, very good at violence, mastered it completely, and then chose to stop. We could destroy ourselves 100 times over. We have the knowledge and technology. We simply choose not to. At that moment, the door chimed. Vretch, grateful for the interruption, opened it to find a young human woman with a bright smile. She bounced slightly on her feet with enthusiasm. Hello, I'm Choi Daeun, junior diplomat. I hope I'm not interrupting. She carried a basket covered with a cloth. I brought fresh pastries from our ship's kitchen. Dr. Lee forgets to eat when he's talking about history, so I thought I'd bring snacks. She swept into the room, setting out plates and pastries with practiced efficiency. She chatted happily about the weather system on the station, about how she was still learning to navigate the different gravity zones, about how excited she was to meet so many new species. This must all be so boring for you, Counselor Daeun said, pouring what humans called coffee. History lessons and old wars. Though I suppose it's important to understand where we come from. It is. Enlightening, Vretch said carefully. Oh, that reminds me. Daeun pulled out her personal display. Dr. Lee, did you mention our nuclear deterrent yet? I was helping archive some files and found the most interesting historical data about the Cold War. Counselor, you might find this fascinating. There was a period where Earth had two major power blocks, both armed with nuclear weapons, both ready to destroy the world. But they never did. She showed images of missiles, submarines, bombers, all while smiling like she was sharing vacation photos. Isn't it amazing? She continued. Humans built weapons that could end civilization, pointed them at each other for decades, and then just didn't use them. We still have them, of course. Thousands of nuclear warheads. But they're just historical relics now. Sentimental keepsakes from a more violent time. Sentimental, Vretch repeated. Well, they're part of our heritage, Daeun said brightly, like museum pieces. Though they still work, obviously. We maintain them properly, but we'd never actually use them. That would be terrible, she said it so casually, so cheerfully, like she was discussing antique furniture that happened to be able to end worlds. Li Hyun pulled up another set of files. Since we're on the topic of military history, let me show you human logistics capabilities. That's really where we excel. During our Second World War, human nations mobilized entire economies for warfare. We could produce thousands of tanks per month, tens of thousands of aircraft per year. We moved millions of soldiers across oceans, kept them fed, armed, and supplied in hostile territory, thousands of kilometers from home. That was with 1940s technology, Daeun added helpfully. Imagine what we could do now with modern systems. Though, of course, we use those logistics networks for peaceful purposes these days. Trade, disaster relief, exploration. Much better uses. Vretch felt like he was drowning. They were so nice, so friendly and cheerful and educational, and they were describing capabilities that terrified him. Why? He finally asked. Why tell me all this? Why help me understand how dangerous you are? Li Hyun looked genuinely puzzled. Dangerous? Counselor, we're not dangerous. We're peaceful. We haven't threatened anyone. You're showing me your capacity for violence while offering me pastries. Well, yes, Li Hyun said reasonably. Because we want you to understand us. We want friendship with the Kraliks. Real friendship, built on honest understanding. You should know who we are, what we've survived, what we've learned. That way our friendship has a solid foundation. Daeun nodded enthusiastically. It would be dishonest to pretend we're something we're not. Humans have a complicated history. We did terrible things to each other for thousands of years. We got very good at war, but we also learned when to stop fighting. We learned cooperation. We learned kindness. We are genuinely nice people, Li Hyun added. We truly want peace with all species. but we want you to choose friendship with us because you understand us. Commander Kang Jisoo stood on the bridge of the relief ship Gentle Hand and watched the Pili homeworld grow larger on the view screen. Behind his ship, 7 more vessels followed in careful formation. All painted white with red crosses, the ancient human symbol for medical aid and humanitarian relief. Approaching standard orbit, reported the navigation officer. The Pili government has cleared us for landing at their primary spaceport. Good, Jisoo said. He was a broad-shouldered man with gray, touching his temples and eyes that had seen too much. Before joining the diplomatic corps, he had been military. That experience showed in how he carried himself. Send greetings to the surface. Tell them we come as friends. Next to him, Engineer Oh Sunwoo grinned. He was younger, always smiling, with grease permanently under his fingernails from working on the ships. Friends bearing gifts. Big gift. How much did we load? Jisoo asked. 70,000 tons of preserved food. Medical supplies for 3 months. Agricultural equipment. Water purification systems. Prefabricated housing units. Educational materials. Seeds for 6 different crop types adapted to their climate. Sunwoo counted off on his fingers. And that's just the first wave. 3 more convoys are already being prepared back home. Jisoo nodded. When the Kralix had threatened to cut off trade to the Pili colonies, Earth's government had responded immediately. Not with threats or sanctions, with humanitarian aid on a massive scale. Medical Officer Yoon Sera entered the bridge carrying a tablet. She was small and quiet, with steady hands and a gentle voice. Commander, I've reviewed the Pili medical data. Their colony worlds have inadequate healthcare infrastructure. Even before the Kralix threats, they were struggling with preventable diseases. Then we help with that too, Jisoo said. Add it to the mission parameters. The Gentle Hand settled onto the spaceport landing pad with barely a vibration. The other ships found their own landing zones nearby. Within minutes, cargo ramps were lowering and humans were emerging. The Pili delegation approached cautiously. They were small beings barely reaching a human's waist covered in soft fur. Their leader, Administrator Pillick, had large eyes that looked wet with emotion. You came, Pillick said through the translator. We sent the distress call, but we did not think. The Kralix are so powerful. We thought no one would dare help us. Jisoo knelt down to meet Pillick's eyes more evenly. Earth does not abandon friends. You called for help, we came. That is what friends do. But the Kralix might retaliate against you. Let them try, Sunwoo said cheerfully. Then caught Jisoo's look. I mean, we hope for peaceful resolution, but we're not afraid. Over the next few hours, the human relief operation unfolded with smooth efficiency. Cargo containers were unloaded and sorted. Medical teams set up field hospitals. Engineers began assessing the Pili infrastructure needs. Food distribution networks were established. Pillick watched in amazement. Your organization is remarkable. You move like soldiers, Jisoo smiled slightly. Many of us have military backgrounds. Logistics are logistics, whether for war or peace. We learn to feed and supply armies across vast distances under hostile conditions. Doing the same thing during peacetime is much easier. Sarah approached with a group of small Pili children. They looked thin and sick. Commander, these children need immediate medical attention, malnutrition and respiratory infections. Can we set up the pediatric unit? Do it, Jisoo ordered. Whatever they need. Sarah led the children toward one of the medical ships. As they walked, she spoke gently to them. Don't worry, little ones. We're going to help you feel better. Humans are very good at keeping people alive. We had a lot of practice during our wars. Terrible circumstances taught us excellent medical techniques. One of the adult Pili following them looked startled. Wars? Oh yes, Sarah said pleasantly. Humans fought each other for thousands of years. We got very good at trauma care, emergency surgery, disease prevention, silver lining, I suppose. Now we use those skills to help instead of harm. Inside the medical ship, the Pili saw equipment that seemed far too advanced for a simple relief mission. Surgical units that could handle anything from minor cuts to catastrophic injuries. Supplies for biological threats and chemical contamination. Sterilization equipment that could process thousands of instruments per hour. This is a civilian medical ship? One Pili doctor asked hesitantly. Completely civilian, Sarah assured them. Though the design is based on our military field hospitals. Those had to be efficient and mobile. Treating soldiers while under enemy fire teaches you a lot about emergency medicine. We just adapted the technology for peaceful purposes. Meanwhile, Sunwoo was showing Pili engineers the water purification systems. These units can process 10,000 liters per hour, designed for rapid deployment in disaster zones or... He paused, then continued cheerfully, or for keeping armies supplied in territories without existing infrastructure. Same principle either way. A Pili engineer examined the equipment carefully. These power signatures are very high, and the shielding seems military grade. Safety feature, Sunwoo explained. These systems were retrofitted from old military logistics designs. Humans learned to build things that could function under attack. Electromagnetic pulses, physical damage, hostile environments. We don't take chances with critical equipment. If something's worth building, it's worth building to last. He patted the water purifier fondly. This model could survive direct artillery fire and keep running. Civilian models need to be just as reliable, right? We don't cut corners. More Pili gathered around watching the humans work. They noticed things. The way the humans moved with military precision despite wearing civilian clothes. The way their equipment was more robust than necessary for peaceful aid. The way their ships had unusually powerful engines and shields for cargo vessels. One elderly Pili named Tillix approached Jisoo. "Commander, forgive me, but I must ask. Your ships, I was a military officer once. Those are not ordinary civilian vessels." Jisoo met his gaze steadily. "They're retrofitted. We took old military transport designs and converted them for humanitarian work, more efficient than building from scratch. But they could be converted back. Theoretically, yes. But we don't plan to. We prefer helping to fighting." Jisoo gestured to the bustling relief operation. "This is what humans do now. We learned the hard way that cooperation works better than conquest. But you could fight if needed. We could do a lot of things if needed," Jisoo said quietly. "We choose not to." That evening, Jisoo received a message that Kralik scouts had been detected in the system. They were observing the human relief operation from a distance. "Should we be concerned?" Sunwoo asked. "Let them watch," Jisoo said. "Let them see what humans do when our friends need help." The Kralik scouts stayed for 3 days watching the humans work. They saw the massive scale of the aid operation. They saw the efficiency and organization. They ran scans on the human ships. What they found troubled them greatly. The civilian relief vessels had military-grade shield generators. Their engines could produce thrust levels normally reserved for warships. Their sensor arrays were far more powerful than any cargo ship needed. And their cargo holds were modular, easily reconfigured from carrying food to carrying other things. One Kralik scout captain sent a report back to the Confederation. The human relief fleet could be converted to military function in less than 1 standard cycle. Their medical ships have equipment that could handle mass casualties from warfare. Their cargo vessels have engines that could outrun most of our military transports. Their water purifiers are hardened against weapons fire. These humans did not send aid. They sent a demonstration of capability disguised as kindness. Back on the surface, Sarah was teaching a group of Pili doctors new surgical techniques. She worked with calm precision, her hands steady as she demonstrated on a practice model. "The key is maintaining blood flow while repairing damage," she explained. "We developed these techniques during Earth's wars. When you're treating hundreds of wounded soldiers, you learn efficiency. You learn what works and what doesn't. You learn to keep people alive when by all rights they should die." A Pili doctor watched closely. "You speak of war so calmly." Sarah's hands never stopped moving. "Because it's part of our history. We're not proud of our wars, but we learned from them. Every medical advancement I'm teaching you today came from someone trying to save lives in terrible circumstances. That knowledge shouldn't go to waste. Better to use it to help than to pretend it doesn't exist." She looked up, meeting the doctor's eyes. "Humans understand trauma because we've experienced it. We understand disaster response because we've faced disasters. We understand how to save lives because we've taken so many. That makes us very good at what we do now." 3 weeks into the relief mission, the Pili colonies were stabilized. Food supplies were secured. Medical facilities were upgraded. Agricultural programs were established to make the colonies self-sufficient. The Pili would no longer be dependent on Kralik's trade routes. Administrator Pilik stood with Jisoo at the spaceport as the human ships prepared to depart. "We cannot thank you enough. You saved our people. That's what friends do," Jisoo said simply. "And Pilik. Earth would like to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Pili." The emergency session of the Galactic Senate was packed. Word had spread quickly about the human relief mission to the Pili worlds. Now every species wanted to understand what was happening. The humans had been quiet newcomers just months ago. Now they were changing the balance of power without firing a single shot. Counselor Vretch stood at the Kralix podium, but he looked different than before. Less confident, more careful. The Kralix Confederation wishes to address the matter of human interference in sector trade disputes. Ambassador Park Mina rose smoothly, her expression pleasant. Interference? We simply helped friends in need. Surely the Kralix do not object to humanitarian aid. You sent a military fleet disguised as relief ships. Vretch's mandibles clicked sharply. Did we? Park Mina tilted her head. Captain Han, could you clarify? Captain Han Jiwoo stood, his voice calm and professional. All vessels in the relief fleet were registered civilian ships. No weapons, no military personnel, only aid workers and supplies. We broke no laws, Counselor Vretch. Your civilian ships have military-grade engines and shields. Safety features, Park Mina said simply. Space can be dangerous. We make sure our people are protected. Is there a law against building reliable equipment? High Arbiter Quelm fluttered nervously. Perhaps we should move to... The Kralix demand that humans cease all interference in this sector. Vretch interrupted. You are new here. You do not understand the established order. We will not tolerate... Tolerate? Park Mina's voice remained gentle, but something in it made the entire chamber quiet. Counselor Vretch, I believe there has been a misunderstanding. We are not asking for permission. We are informing you of Earth's intentions. She walked to the central podium and Captain Han activated a display screen. The human government has established the Friend Initiative. Any species who wishes friendship with Earth can request aid, protection, and mutual support. We are currently in talks with 17 different species. The Pili were simply the first. Images appeared on the screen, star charts showing human ships moving throughout the sector, construction projects on minor colony worlds, trade agreements being signed, medical programs being established. Earth is wealthy, Park Mina continued. We have resources, technology, and most importantly, the will to help. We learned long ago that cooperation benefits everyone, so we are offering cooperation to all who want it. An ambassador from the Theta Collective spoke up. And what do you ask in return for this help? Friendship, Park Mina said simply. That's all. We help our friends. We protect our friends. We support our friends. No hidden costs. No exploitation. Just genuine partnership. Impossible, muttered a delegate from the Vrex Union. No one gives without taking. Park Mina smiled, and Captain Han pulled up new files. Perhaps you would like to understand Earth's philosophy better. We have prepared a presentation on human political theory and ethics. The screen changed. Images of Earth appeared. Libraries, universities, monuments. Humans spent thousands of years thinking about justice, fairness, and morality. Park Mina began. We developed complex philosophical systems. One concept we value is called just war theory. The idea that violence should only be used under specific circumstances for good reasons and in proportional ways. More images. Documents, treaties, historical records. We also developed the concept of humanitarian intervention, the idea that powerful nations have a moral duty to protect weaker ones from abuse and starvation, not for profit or conquest, simply because it is right. Captain Han took over. Earth's military doctrine includes the proportional response principle. If someone attacks our friends, we respond with exactly enough force to stop the threat. No more, no less. We don't seek revenge or dominance. We seek safety for those we care about. Vretch's mandibles clicked nervously. You speak of military doctrine? We speak of defense doctrine, Captain Han corrected. Humans are peaceful, Counselor. We genuinely want cooperation with all species. But we also have centuries of experience protecting our friends. We are very good at it, Ambassador Shinborum stood. She was an older woman with sharp eyes and a warm smile. Let me give you an example from Earth's history. There was a period called the Cold War. Two major powers faced each other, both capable of destroying the world. Neither wanted war, so they developed a system called mutually assured destruction. Both sides understood that starting a fight would end badly for everyone. She walked to the podium beside Park Mina. But here's the interesting part. These same powers also defended their allies against aggression. They built massive alliances. They committed to mutual protection. And it worked. For decades, peace was maintained not through conquering but through friendship backed by capability. Is that a threat? Someone asked from the gallery. No, Park Mina said gently. It is an explanation. We want you to understand who humans are. We are genuinely peaceful. We genuinely value cooperation. But we also genuinely protect our friends. Always. She looked directly at Vrech. Counselor, Earth would like to invite the Kralix to visit our homeworld. See our civilization. Meet our people. Understand our history and culture properly. We want friendship with the Kralix too, if you are willing. Vrech was silent for a long moment. And if we refuse? Then you refuse, Park Mina said simply. We will respect your decision. But it would sadden us. The Kralix are a great and ancient people. We would prefer to be your friends rather than merely neighbors. Captain Han pulled up more images. Earth cities, universities, space stations. And then, briefly, military installations, shipyards, training facilities, defense networks. Humans have rapid response capabilities, he said quietly. If any of our friends are threatened, we can mobilize relief operations within hours. Medical supplies, food, construction equipment, defensive support, all can be deployed across multiple light years very quickly. We have a lot of practice moving resources efficiently. We proved this with the Pili, Park Mina added. Within 3 days of their distress call, we had 8 ships on site. Within 3 weeks, their colonies were secure and self-sufficient. This is what we do. This is how we help our friends. She smiled at the assembled delegates. And we are currently discussing friendship agreements with 17 species. Soon it may be more. Earth is building a network of cooperation and mutual support. Anyone who threatens our friends will find themselves facing not just Earth, but all our friends together. Ambassador Shinboram nodded. This is not a threat, honored delegates. This is an offer of protection. Join us, be our friends. Let us help you prosper. Or remain neutral, we respect that too. But understand that the old ways of exploiting weaker species are ending. Not through conquest, Park Mina clarified. Through kindness. Through genuine friendship. Through showing everyone that cooperation brings more than exploitation ever could. High Arbiter Quelm spoke hesitantly. And what if someone refuses both friendship and neutrality? What if someone continues to threaten weaker species? Park Mina's smile never wavered. Then we help the weaker species become strong enough to defend themselves. We give them technology, training, support. We make them self-sufficient. We turn victims into partners. And if that is not enough, Quelm pressed. Then we help more directly, Captain Han said. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. Earth's diplomatic corps includes many former military personnel. We understand defense. We understand rapid response. We understand how to protect people who cannot protect themselves. He looked around the chamber. But we prefer not to. We prefer friendship. We prefer cooperation. We prefer building instead of fighting. That is why we are here talking instead of acting. We believe in communication first, always. Park Mina returned to her seat, but before she sat down, she addressed Vrech directly. Counselor, the Kralix sanctions against the Pili are no longer relevant. The Pili are now self-sufficient. But more than that, the Pili are now our friends. Earth has signed a mutual defense agreement with them. Any threat to their worlds is a threat to our partnership. She let that sink in. We tell you this not to threaten you, but to be honest. Friendship requires honesty. So we are being clear about our commitments. The Pili are under Earth's protection now, as are the other species we are partnering with. Vrech stood very still. The entire chamber was silent. Finally, he spoke. The Kralix Confederation will reconsider its position on the trade dispute. We are glad to hear it, Park Mina said warmly. And our invitation remains open. Please visit Earth. Let us show you who we are. Let us build something better than fear between our peoples. The session ended shortly after. As delegates filed out, the mood was subdued. Everyone had witnessed something unprecedented. The humans had not threatened anyone. They had not demanded anything. They had simply explained their position with perfect courtesy and overwhelming clarity. High Arbiter Quelm approached the human delegation. Ambassador Park, that was remarkable. You changed everything without firing a shot. We do not want to fire shots, Park Mina said. We want friends, High Arbiter. Is that so strange? Coming from a species with your capabilities? Yes, most powerful species seek dominance. Captain Han spoke quietly. Earth learned a hard lesson over thousands of years. Dominance is temporary. Friendship lasts. We choose lasting over temporary. 6 months had passed since humanity's first diplomatic dinner with the Kralix. The Galactic Senate chamber looked the same, But everything else had changed. Where there had once been chaos and fear, there was now something like order. Where there had been exploitation, there was now cooperation. And at the center of it all, smiling peacefully, sat the human delegation. Ambassador Park Mina stood to address the Senate. The chamber fell silent immediately. That was new too. When humans spoke now, everyone listened. Honored delegates, Park Mina began warmly. Earth is pleased to announce the expansion of the Friend Initiative. 23 new species have requested partnership agreements. We are honored to welcome them. The gallery erupted in polite applause. Park Mina smiled and continued. Additionally, we are pleased to host the first Galactic Cooperation Summit next month on Earth. All species are invited to discuss mutual aid, technology sharing, and cultural exchange. High Arbiter Quelm rose from his seat. The bird-like administrator had aged well over the past months. He seemed less nervous now, more purposeful. The Senate formally recognizes Earth's growing role in maintaining galactic stability. We propose establishing a permanent human seat on the Security Council. There were no objections. The vote passed unanimously. Senator Wei Zhemin, newly appointed as Earth's permanent representative, bowed respectfully. He was an older man with gentle eyes and silver hair, who spoke 5 galactic languages fluently and had once been a military general. Earth accepts this honor and responsibility. We pledge to serve all species fairly and work toward lasting peace. In the gallery, Councillor Vretch watched quietly. The Kraliks had been among the first to sign friendship agreements with Earth after reconsidering their position. It had been a wise choice. The Kraliks' economy was now thriving through Earth trade partnerships. Their military, while still strong, no longer needed to threaten neighbors. Earth's mutual defense agreements had made aggression pointless. Any attack on one friend meant facing all of them together. During a recess, Vretch approached the human delegation. Ambassador Park, a moment of your time? Of course, Counselor. How can I help you? I have been reflecting on our first meeting, Vretch said carefully. When you invited me to dinner aboard your ship, I thought you were naive then. I thought humans did not understand power. Park Mina's smile was knowing. And now? Now I understand that humans understand power better than any species I have met. You wield it through kindness. It is, he searched for words, terrifying in its effectiveness. We learned from our history, Park Mina said gently. Violence brings temporary victory. Kindness brings lasting change. We choose lasting. Captain Han Jiwoo joined them, carrying data tablets. Counselor, your request for human assistance with your colony infrastructure projects has been approved. We will have engineering teams ready next month. You are helping us even though we threatened the Pili? Vretch asked. That was 6 months ago, Captain Han said. You learned. You changed. That is what matters. Friends help each other improve, not punish each other for past mistakes. Vretch's mandibles clicked softly. It was the sound his species made when feeling genuine respect. No wonder you are changing the galaxy. Later that day, Senator Wei called a meeting with the core human diplomatic team in their private quarters. Park Mina, Captain Han, Ambassador Shin Borum, Dr. Lee Hyun, Commander Kang Jisu, Medical Officer Yoon Sera, Engineer Oh Sun-woo, and Junior Diplomat Choi Daeun all gathered around a conference table. We need to discuss our long-term strategy, Wei began. The Friend Initiative has succeeded beyond expectations. But success brings new challenges. We are spreading thin, Commander Kang agreed. We have commitments to 42 species now. Our relief fleets are constantly deploying. We need more ships, more personnel, more resources. Earth is authorizing expansion, Wei said. 10 new diplomatic vessels, 20 more relief ships, and 5 mobile medical stations. But Kang is right. We need to help our partners become more self-sufficient. Dr. Lee Hyun adjusted his glasses. Education programs. Technology sharing. We should not just give fish, we should teach fishing. Already underway, Ambassador Shin reported. We have training programs established in 15 systems, teaching advanced agriculture, manufacturing, medicine. Within a year, most of our partners should be able to sustain themselves and help others. Creating a network, Park Mina said thoughtfully. Not a hub and spoke with Earth at the center, but a true web of mutual support. Exactly, Wei nodded. That was always the goal. Earth does not want to be everyone's provider forever. We want to start a movement. Show everyone that cooperation works better than exploitation. Sarah spoke softly. It is working. I have been coordinating with medical personnel from 8 different species now. They are sharing techniques with each other, not just learning from us. The network is growing organically. Oh, Sunwoo grinned. Same with engineering. The Theta Collective and the Pili are collaborating on infrastructure projects now. We just provide technical advice. They do the work together. This is the future we wanted, Park Mina said. Not Earth as a superpower dominating others, but Earth as a catalyst for cooperation. Captain Han looked thoughtful. What about the remaining aggressive species? Not everyone has reformed like the Kralix. The Vrex Union is still making threats, Choi Daeon reported. Small scale but concerning. They have not attacked anyone yet, but they keep testing boundaries. Wei's expression hardened slightly. Then we remind them why boundaries exist. Schedule a diplomatic visit to Vrex space, full honor guard, cultural exchange, the usual approach. Park Mina smiled. Show them who we are. Show them what they could become if they choose friendship, Wei corrected. Or what they will face if they choose otherwise. The meeting continued late into the station's night cycle, planning humanity's next moves. Not with military strategy, but with cultural programs, trade agreements, and educational initiatives. The weapons of human diplomacy were not missiles, but medicine. Not soldiers, but teachers, not threats, but opportunities. 2 weeks later, High Arbiter Quelm sat in his office reviewing galactic statistics. What he saw amazed him. Conflicts were down 60% across the sector. Trade was up 40%. Medical outcomes had improved in 30 systems. Educational enrollment had doubled in previously struggling colonies, all because one species had decided to be nice. His assistant entered. High Arbiter, you asked for historical analysis? Yes, I wanted to understand human methods. Did you find anything? The assistant projected data. Human history shows a pattern. They spend thousands of years perfecting warfare. Every generation they become more efficient at violence. Better weapons, better tactics, better organization. They reach a peak where they can destroy their own world. And then they stop. They choose cooperation instead. They redirect all that military efficiency toward peaceful purposes. Logistics networks designed for supplying armies are used for relief operations. Medical technology developed for battlefield trauma is used for civilian healthcare. Organizational systems built for coordinating millions of soldiers are used for managing humanitarian aid. Quelm absorbed this. They weaponized kindness. No, the assistant corrected. They kindnessized weapons. They took everything they learned from being dangerous and used it to be helpful instead. That is what makes them so effective. They have the mindset of conquerors applied to the goal of cooperation. Terrifying, Quelm murmured. And wonderful, his assistant added, because they genuinely mean well. This is not manipulation. They truly want everyone to prosper. Quelm thought about this for a long time after his assistant left. Humans were perhaps the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Not despite their kindness, but because of it. They had the capability for enormous violence, the organizational skills of warfighters, the technology of a militarized society, and the efficiency of people who had spent thousands of years competing with each other. And they chose to use all of that to help people. It was the most powerful force Quelm had ever witnessed. A month later, the Galactic Cooperation Summit opened on Earth. Delegates from over 200 species arrived to see humanity's homeworld for themselves. What they saw changed them. They saw cities that sparkled with lights connected by transportation systems designed for military logistics, but used for commuters. They saw hospitals using technology developed for battlefield medicine to save civilian lives. They saw universities teaching former military strategy courses as classes in disaster response. They saw humans who had once been soldiers now working as teachers, doctors, and engineers. They saw a species that had learned from its violent past and built something better. On the final day, Park Mina addressed the assembled delegates in the Great Hall at Earth's Unity Center. Honored guests, we invited you here not to impress you, but to show you what is possible. Earth was once divided. We fought each other for thousands of years. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times, but we learned. We changed. We chose cooperation over competition. She gestured to the diverse crowd before her. You can do the same. All of you. The galaxy does not need to be a place of fear and exploitation. It can be a place of friendship and mutual support. Earth will help anyone who wants to build that future.